Two twin sisters try to steal food from a grocery store, unaware that a millionaire is watching everything. When they are approached, one of them says something that leaves the man paralyzed and makes him cry on the spot. Instead of reporting them, he makes an unexpected decision that changes everyone's life. What began as a theft out of hunger turns into a story of love, healing, and unity. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. It was a crisp autumn morning in Chicago when Ethan Caldwell stepped out of his gleaming downtown office building. At 38, he had everything most people spent their lives chasing: CEO of Caldwell Innovations, a cutting-edge tech company he'd built from scratch, a sleek penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan, and enough money to never worry about bills again. Today's schedule was particularly demanding. A meeting with Japanese investors, followed by a press interview for Forbes' 40 Under 40 feature. Realizing he'd forgotten his water bottle, Ethan ducked into a corner store on Michigan Avenue. He navigated the narrow aisles, searching for the refrigerated section, when he rounded a corner and froze. Two identical little girls, no older than 5 or 6, were huddled in the snack aisle. One wore a blue t-shirt, the other pink, both paired with identical denim skirts. Their brown hair was pulled back in simple ponytails, and their eyes darted nervously around the store. What caught Ethan's attention wasn't their appearance, but their actions. They were carefully slipping a carton of milk and a box of cookies into a small backpack. The girls hadn't noticed him yet. Ethan cleared his throat. "Hey there!" Both children jumped, their faces instantly draining of color. The one in pink began to tremble, tears welling in her eyes. "Please don't call the police," she whispered, her voice quivering. "We're just really hungry." Something in her voice, a raw desperation rather than childish mischief, made Ethan pause. He'd dealt with enough people to recognize genuine need. "When's the last time you two ate?" he asked, kneeling to their level. The girls exchanged glances. The one in blue, seemingly the more protective of the pair, spoke up. "Yesterday morning." Ethan's chest tightened. Without hesitation, he picked up the cookies they'd tried to take, grabbed the milk and added a couple of sandwiches and fruit from the deli section. After paying, he guided the girls to a small table in the store's cafe area. "I'm Ethan," he said, unwrapping a sandwich for each of them. "What are your names?" They hesitated, clearly weighing whether to trust him. "I'm Lily," said the girl in blue finally. "This is my sister Emma." Emma, still tearful, took a tiny bite of her sandwich, then another, and suddenly both girls were devouring the food with an urgency that spoke volumes. Ethan waited until they'd slowed down before speaking again. "Where are your parents?" Emma's face crumpled again. Lily put a protective arm around her sister's shoulders. "Mom's in the hospital," Lily said, her voice unnaturally mature for a kindergartner. "She won't wake up. It's been 4 days." "And your dad?" "Don't have one," Emma mumbled. "Just Mom." Ethan checked his watch. The investor meeting was in 30 minutes, but somehow it didn't seem important anymore. "Where do you live? Is someone taking care of you?" Lily shook her head. "We've been taking care of ourselves. We know how to make cereal, but the milk went bad." An alarm bell rang in Ethan's mind. 2 kindergartners alone for 4 days? He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. "Melissa, reschedule everything today. Family emergency." He ignored her surprised response. He had no family that she knew of, and ended the call. "Could you show me where you live?" he asked the twins. 20 minutes later, Ethan's Tesla pulled up outside a modest apartment building in Uptown. The girls led him to a 3rd-floor unit. The apartment was small but clean, with signs of someone trying to maintain order, despite limited resources. 2 small beds with colorful blankets occupied one corner of the main room. Children's drawings were taped to the walls. The refrigerator contained only condiments and a carton of spoiled milk. On the kitchen table lay a stack of hospital papers. Ethan scanned them while the girls changed into clean clothes. Rachel Collins, 30, had suffered a hemorrhagic stroke and was in Northwestern Memorial Hospital's intensive care unit. No insurance information was listed. While the girls gathered some toys and clothes, Ethan made another call, this time to David Landon, his attorney and oldest friend. "Dave, I need a favor. Emergency temporary guardianship papers. Today." The lawyer's voice was cautious. "Ethan, that's not how these things work. There are procedures. 2 5-year-old girls have been alone for 4 days while their mother's in a coma." Ethan cut in. Figure it out. Use whatever connections you need. I'll pay whatever it costs. By evening, through a combination of legal maneuvering, charitable hospital board connections, and what Ethan suspected were a few not entirely by the book favors, he had obtained 72-hour emergency guardianship of Emma and Lily Collins. His minimalist penthouse, designed for entertaining business associates rather than housing children, suddenly felt sterile and unwelcoming as he showed the girls inside. "This is where you live?" Emma asked, her eyes wide as she took in the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering Chicago skyline. "It is," Ethan replied, realizing how empty the space felt despite its luxury. "Let me show you where you'll sleep." He set them up in the guest room, ordering pizza when he realized his refrigerator contained nothing but protein shakes and expensive wine. After dinner, he helped them bathe and change into pajamas they'd brought from home. "Can we see Mommy tomorrow?" Lily asked as he tucked them in. "Yes," Ethan promised. "First thing in the morning." Once the girls were asleep, Ethan sat at his desk, staring at his reflection in the darkened window. What was he doing? He knew nothing about caring for children. His own childhood had been a series of boarding schools and distant parents. He'd built his company precisely so he'd never have to depend on anyone else. Yet something about these two little girls had bypassed all his carefully constructed walls. Their vulnerability, their resilience, their fierce protection of each other. It awakened something he hadn't known existed within him. His phone buzzed with a text from Nathan Reynolds, his COO. "Japanese investors not happy about reschedule. What's going on?" Ethan ignored it, instead opening his laptop to research stroke recovery, custody options, and, after a moment's thought, what 5-year-old girls might need that wasn't already in his apartment. The next morning, Ethan woke to small fingers poking his shoulder. Emma stood beside his bed, clutching a stuffed rabbit. "I had a bad dream," she whispered. "Can I stay with you?" Without thinking, Ethan lifted the covers and Emma climbed in, immediately curling against his side. The simple trust of the gesture tightened his throat. Later that day, they visited Northwestern Memorial. Rachel Collins lay motionless in the ICU, connected to monitoring equipment. The twins pressed their hands against the observation window, their faces solemn. "When will she wake up?" Emma asked a passing nurse. The nurse gave a sympathetic smile. "We don't know, sweetie, but we're taking good care of her." Ethan spoke with Rachel's doctors, who explained her condition was serious but stable. The stroke had affected areas controlling speech and memory. Recovery, if it happened, would be lengthy and difficult. "What about her daughters?" Ethan asked. "Social services has been notified," the doctor replied, "but the system is overloaded. Foster placement for 2 children together can be challenging." As they left the hospital, Lily looked up at Ethan. "Are we going to foster care now?" Ethan thought about his empty penthouse, his company, his solitary life. Then he looked at these 2 little girls with their matching ponytails and solemn eyes. "Not if I can help it," he said. The days that followed transformed Ethan's life in ways he couldn't have imagined. His pristine penthouse, once a showcase of modern design and untouched surfaces, now bore evidence of children at every turn. Colorful drawings magnetized to the refrigerator, small shoes by the door, stuffed animals perched on the leather sofa. David had managed to extend the emergency guardianship to 2 weeks, but the clock was ticking. Each morning Ethan woke to find either Emma or Lily, sometimes both, had crawled into his bed during the night. Each evening, he found himself doing things he'd never imagined, making dinosaur-shaped pancakes, reading bedtime stories, learning to braid hair by watching YouTube tutorials. "You're not very good at this," Lily observed matter-of-factly, as Ethan attempted to braid her hair for the 5th time. "Practice makes perfect," he replied, a phrase his own father had never used. His childhood had been defined by expectations of immediate excellence. After dropping the girls at the hospital daycare center, where they could spend time near their mother, Ethan finally returned to his office. The reception was chillier than the autumn air outside. "The board's requesting an emergency meeting," Melissa informed him, barely concealing her concern. "Nathan's been handling the Japanese investors, but they're asking for you specifically." Ethan nodded, straightening his tie. "Schedule it for tomorrow. I need to pick up the girls by 4. Melissa's eyebrows shot up. "Girls?" "It's complicated," he said, disappearing into his office before she could ask more questions. The stack of urgent paperwork on his desk was daunting, but Ethan found his thoughts drifting to the twins. They were so different despite their identical appearance. Emma was openly affectionate, crawling into his lap while they watched movies, chattering about everything she saw. Lily maintained a careful distance, observing him with watchful eyes, as if waiting for him to disappoint them. Last night, Lily had asked him an unexpected question as he tucked her in. "Are you rich?" The directness had startled him. "Yes, I suppose I am." "Do rich people always help kids who steal?" Ethan had considered his answer carefully. "I'm not helping you because you took those things. I'm helping you because you told me the truth about why." Lily had nodded solemnly, then held out her hand. When he took it, she'd fallen asleep, still holding on to him. The memory was interrupted by Nathan bursting into his office without knocking. 3 missed investor meetings, 2 rescheduled press interviews, and you're leaving at 4. Nathan's face was flushed with frustration. "What's going on with you, Ethan? We're about to close the biggest deal in company history." "I'm dealing with a personal matter," Ethan replied, keeping his voice level. "You don't have personal matters," Nathan scoffed. "That's why you've been so successful. You're always available." The comment stung because it was true. Ethan had prided himself on his singular focus, his availability, his lack of complications. Now he found himself wondering if what he'd thought was freedom was actually emptiness. "Things change," was all he said. That evening he took the girls to the park near his building. Watching them on the swings, their laughter carrying across the playground, he felt something unfamiliar. A lightness, a sense of purpose beyond quarterly projections and market share. His phone buzzed. "David, I've been researching options," his friend said without preamble. "If their mother recovers, she'll need substantial rehabilitation. No insurance makes it complicated." "Money isn't an issue," Ethan said. "It's not just about money, Ethan. These girls need stability. If you're serious about helping them, we need to discuss long-term legal guardianship." The words sent a jolt through him. Long-term. He watched as Emma chased a squirrel across the grass, Lily following more cautiously behind. "I'm serious," he said, surprising himself with his certainty. That night, after tucking the twins into bed, Ethan sat at his kitchen island, laptop open, researching guardianship laws in Illinois. His phone buzzed again, an email from Nathan with the subject line, "Board concerns." He ignored it, instead pulling up a document David had sent outlining the guardianship petition process. As he read, he heard a small sound and looked up to find Lily standing in the hallway, her stuffed bear clutched to her chest. "Can't sleep?" he asked. She shook her head. "I keep checking if the door is locked." "The door is locked," Ethan assured her. "You're safe here." "At home I check 10 times every night," she said matter-of-factly. "Otherwise, bad people might come in." Ethan's heart constricted. He stood and held out his hand. "Let's check together, okay? Then you'll know for sure." After confirming that the front door was indeed secured, Ethan lifted Lily into his arms. She was so light, so fragile. Her small arms wrapped around his neck as he carried her back to bed. "Will we have to leave soon?" she whispered, as he tucked her in beside her sleeping sister. "Not if I can help it," Ethan promised for the second time. The next day brought the dreaded board meeting. Ethan sat at the head of the conference table, facing the skeptical expressions of his executive team. "Quarterly projections are down 15%, Nathan announced, pulling up a graph on the screen. "Our absence from the Tokyo Tech Conference sent a concerning message to Asian markets." "We'll recover," Ethan stated confidently. "The Peterson account alone will offset." "The Peterson account needs attention," interrupted Vivian Chen, his sales director. "They've expressed concerns about your availability." Ethan felt all eyes on him. These people had known him for years as the CEO who never took vacations, who answered emails at 3 a.m., who put the company above everything else. "I've had a family situation arise," he said finally. Nathan snorted. "You don't have family, that's why we hired you." The room fell silent at the blunt statement. "Everyone has family," Ethan replied quietly. "Sometimes they find you when you least expect it." After the meeting, Ethan headed to the hospital. He found the twins in the daycare drawing pictures for their mother. Emma's was filled with bright colors, a smiling sun, flowers, and 3 stick figures holding hands. Lily's was more subdued, a careful rendering of their apartment building with a small figure looking out the window. "That's Mom," she explained when she saw him looking. "She's watching for us." They visited Rachel's room together. There had been no change in her condition. The twins pressed their hands against the glass as they did every day. "When Mom wakes up, will we go home?" Emma asked as they left. Ethan knelt to her level. "When your mom wakes up, we'll figure everything out together. But no matter what happens, you won't be alone anymore." Emma threw her arms around his neck. After a moment's hesitation, Lily joined the hug, her small body still tense but trusting him enough to try. That evening, after dinner, Ethan received a call from the hospital. Rachel Collins had shown signs of increased brain activity. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. "Should we tell the girls?" David asked when Ethan called to update him. Ethan watched the twins building a fort out of sofa cushions and blankets. "Not yet. I don't want to get their hopes up until we know more." After bedtime, Ethan sat on his balcony, staring at the Chicago skyline. 2 weeks ago, his biggest concern had been the Japanese investment deal. Now he found himself responsible for 2 small lives, contemplating permanent guardianship, and possibly supporting a woman he'd never met through a lengthy recovery. The strangest part was that none of it felt like a burden. For the first time in his adult life, Ethan felt connected to something beyond work, beyond achievement, beyond the endless pursuit of success. His phone lit up with an email notification. The guardianship petition documents from David, ready for his signature. Ethan opened the attachment, his finger hovering over the screen. "Mr. Ethan?" Emma's small voice came from the balcony doorway. She stood in her pajamas, hair mussed from sleep. "I had another bad dream." Ethan set down the phone and opened his arms. Emma climbed into his lap, tucking her head under his chin. "What was your dream about?" he asked softly. "That you disappeared," she whispered. "Like Daddy did. Mom said he went away before we were born." Ethan tightened his arms around her. "I'm not going anywhere, Emma, I promise." As she drifted back to sleep against his chest, Ethan picked up his phone again and signed the guardianship petition. Whatever came next, he was all in. The following week brought a new rhythm to Ethan's life. Mornings became a carefully choreographed dance of breakfast preparation, outfit selection, and hair brushing. He hired a child specialist, Ms. Jenkins, to stay with the girls during work hours and accompany them to their daily hospital visits. Evenings were reserved exclusively for the twins. No late meetings, no conference calls, no emails after dinner. Nathan wasn't taking it well. "The Tokyo deal is slipping through our fingers," he said, pacing Ethan's office. "Harrison Tech is circling like vultures, ready to swoop in the moment our investors get nervous." "Send me the contract revisions," Ethan replied, checking his watch. "I'll review them tonight after the girls are asleep." "The girls," Nathan repeated, his voice sharp with disdain. "These children you've suddenly appointed yourself guardian of, children you didn't even know existed 3 weeks ago." Ethan looked up, his expression hardening. "Careful, Nathan. The board is concerned. I'm concerned. You built this company from nothing, and now you're jeopardizing everything for..." "For what?" Ethan interrupted, standing. "For showing basic humanity? For helping 2 children who have no one else?" Nathan's expression softened slightly. "Look, I get it. It's a sad situation. But there are systems in place for this sort of thing. Foster care. Have you ever been in foster care, Nathan?" "Of course not, but..." "Then don't talk to me about systems." Ethan gathered his coat. "I'm leaving. Email me those revisions." At home, Ethan found Emma and Lily engaged in an art project with Ms. Jenkins. The dining table was covered in construction paper, glitter, and photos printed from Ethan's printer. "We're making a surprise," Emma announced, hiding her work as Ethan approached. "For Mum," Lily added. "The nurse said we can put it in her room." Ms. Jenkins smiled. The girls wanted to create a welcome backboard for when Ms. Collins wakes up. Ethan knelt beside Lily, examining her careful cutting. "That's a wonderful idea. Do you think she'll wake up soon?" Lily asked, her voice small. "I hope so," Ethan answered honestly. "The doctors say she's getting stronger." After Ms. Jenkins left, they had dinner. Pasta with vegetables that the girls helped prepare, wearing the child-sized aprons Ethan had ordered online. During these moments, watching Emma meticulously separate her peas from her carrots and Lily carefully twirling spaghetti on her fork, Ethan felt a sense of contentment that had eluded him his entire adult life. "Mr. Ethan," Emma said as he cleared the plates, "can we call you something else?" Ethan paused. "What would you like to call me?" The twins exchanged glances, a silent communication that fascinated him. Sometimes, Emma continued hesitantly, I almost call you Daddy by accident. Ethan felt something catch in his throat. You can call me whatever feels right to you. What if Mom wakes up and gets mad? Lily asked, always the pragmatist. Then we'll talk about it together, Ethan assured her. Grown-ups can figure these things out. That night, after reviewing the Tokyo contract revisions, Ethan received a text from David. Judge Henderson agreed to expedite the guardianship hearing. Next Tuesday, 9 a.m. Ethan stared at the message, a mix of relief and apprehension washing over him. The temporary arrangement was becoming something more permanent. Was he ready for this responsibility? His own parents had been distant figures, prioritizing their careers over parenting. He had no model for the role he was stepping into. His thoughts were interrupted by a small cry from the girls' room. He found Lily sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face. I dreamed Mom forgot us, she sobbed as he gathered her into his arms. Your mom could never forget you, Ethan murmured, stroking her hair. Never. But what if she does? Lily hiccuped. The doctor said her brain got hurt. Ethan chose his words carefully. If some memories are hard for her to find at first, then we'll help her remember. That's what families do. They help each other remember the important things. Are we your family now? Lily asked, her tears subsiding. The question pierced him. Yes, he said simply. If you want to be, Lily nodded against his chest. I want to. The next morning, Ethan received an unexpected call from the hospital. Rachel Collins had opened her eyes briefly during the night. The neurologist wanted to meet with him. Her awakening is promising, Dr. Morris explained when Ethan arrived. But recovery from a hemorrhagic stroke is complex. When she fully regains consciousness, she may have significant deficits, speech impairment, memory issues, motor difficulties. Will she recognize her daughters? Ethan asked, thinking of Lily's fear. It's impossible to predict, the doctor replied. Brain injuries are highly individual. Some patients wake with perfect memory but can't speak. Others speak fluently but don't recognize loved ones. We won't know until she's fully conscious. Ethan absorbed this information, thinking about how to prepare the twins for the uncertainty ahead. There's another matter, Dr. Morris continued. Ms. Collins has no insurance. She's been receiving care under the hospital's charity program, but rehabilitation facilities have limited charity beds. Without proper post-acute care, her recovery could be severely compromised. What does proper care cost? Ethan asked. Dr. Morris named a figure that would bankrupt most families. Ethan didn't blink. Consider it covered, he said. Just make sure she gets everything she needs. The doctor looked surprised. You're not a relative. I'm the guardian of her children, Ethan stated firmly. Their well-being depends on their mother's recovery. Later that day, Ethan found himself in yet another tense meeting at Caldwell Innovations. This time it wasn't just Nathan, but the entire executive team and 2 board members. The Thompson acquisition is in jeopardy, announced Carlos Rodriguez, the CFO. They're concerned about leadership stability. My personal life doesn't affect my leadership capabilities, Ethan countered. Your personal life has resulted in you missing critical meetings and being unavailable after hours, Nathan pointed out. That affects every aspect of this company. Board member Eleanor Winters leaned forward. Ethan, no one questions your dedication to Caldwell Innovations. You built this company, but this sudden family situation has the board concerned about your focus. I understand your concerns, Ethan replied carefully, but I've reviewed every contract, approved every strategy, and maintained our growth trajectory. Yes, my schedule has changed, but my commitment hasn't. Something has to give, Nathan insisted. You can't be a full-time CEO and a full-time whatever you're trying to be to these children. The words landed like a physical blow. Ethan stood, buttoning his suit jacket. Watch me, he said quietly, and left the room. That evening, Ethan took the girls to Navy Pier. They rode the Ferris wheel, ate cotton candy, and watched street performers. Emma chatted excitedly about everything she saw, while Lily held tightly to Ethan's hand, occasionally smiling at her sister's enthusiasm as the sun set over Lake Michigan, casting golden light across the water. Ethan sat on a bench with a twin on either side of him. I have some news, he said gently. Your mom opened her eyes today. Both girls gasped, Emma bouncing with excitement. Can we see her? Is she awake now? Can she talk? The questions tumbled out. She's still sleeping most of the time, Ethan explained, but the doctors are very happy that she opened her eyes. It means she's getting better. When will she come home? Lily asked, her practical nature asserting itself. Not for a while, Ethan said honestly. When people's brains get hurt, they need a lot of time to heal, but I promise you'll see her as soon as the doctors say it's okay. Emma leaned against him. Will we still live with you when Mom gets better? The question hit the heart of what Ethan had been wondering himself. What would Rachel Collins want? Would she be grateful for his intervention or resentful of his presence in her daughter's lives? I don't know exactly how things will work, he admitted, but I do know that I'll always be in your lives if that's what you want. Always. I want that, Emma said immediately. Lily was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Me too. Later that night, after the girls were asleep, Ethan sat at his desk reviewing company reports. His phone pinged with an email from Nathan. Board recommending temporary leadership transition during your family crisis. Emergency vote scheduled Friday. Ethan stared at the screen, anger and disbelief washing over him. They were trying to push him out. Temporarily, they claimed, but he knew better. In the tech world, temporary changes had a way of becoming permanent. He had built Caldwell Innovations from nothing, working 18-hour days, sacrificing everything for the company's success. Now, after all that sacrifice, he was facing a choice he'd never anticipated: the company or the children. 3 weeks ago, the choice would have been obvious. Now, as he looked toward the room where Emma and Lily slept, trusting him to keep them safe, he wasn't so sure. His phone rang, the hospital. Ethan's heart raced as he answered. Mr. Caldwell, this is Nurse Perez from Northwestern Memorial. Rachel Collins is awake and asking for her daughters. Ethan arrived at Northwestern Memorial before visiting hours officially began, his heart pounding with a mixture of hope and apprehension. The twins were still asleep at home with Ms. Jenkins, whom he'd called in early. He wanted to assess Rachel's condition before bringing the girls. Dr. Morris met him outside the ICU. She's conscious but disoriented, he explained. Her speech is affected, a condition called aphasia. She's having trouble finding words and may mix them up. This is common after stroke and often improves with therapy. Does she remember the girls? Ethan asked, thinking of Lily's fears. Yes, that's clear. Her first words were asking for Emma and Lily. Relief washed over Ethan. What else should I expect? She has significant right-side weakness and some memory gaps. She knows she had a stroke but doesn't remember the days leading up to it. We haven't told her how much time has passed or about your guardianship of her daughters. We thought it best if you explained. Ethan nodded, straightening his shoulders as he followed the doctor into Rachel's room. The woman in the bed looked younger than he'd expected, perhaps 30, with the same heart-shaped face as her daughters. Her brown hair was tangled around her pale face, and an IV line ran into her left arm. Her right arm lay motionless at her side. Her eyes, the same deep brown as the twins, fixed on him with confusion. Who? She began, the words slurred. You, not doctor. Ethan approached slowly. My name is Ethan Caldwell. I've been taking care of Emma and Lily while you've been ill. Rachel's eyes widened. My girls, where? They're safe, he assured her. They're at my home with a caregiver. I can bring them to see you today. Confusion clouded her features. Your home? Why not our home? Ethan pulled a chair closer to her bed, choosing his words carefully. Rachel. May I call you Rachel? You've been unconscious for nearly 3 weeks. I found Emma and Lily alone trying to get food. They told me you were in the hospital. Horror dawned in Rachel's eyes as she processed this information. Alone? My babies. Alone? Tears began streaming down her face. They're okay, Ethan said gently. They're remarkably resilient children. I obtained emergency guardianship to care for them legally. Guard? Rachel struggled with the word. You, stranger. Why? It was a fair question. Why had he, a wealthy CEO with no connection to this family, inserted himself so completely into their lives? I couldn't leave them to the system, he said simply. They needed someone and I was there. Rachel studied him, tears still flowing. Show me pictures. Ethan pulled out his phone, bringing up photos from the past weeks. The twins at the park, building their blanket fort, baking cookies in his kitchen. Rachel's good hand trembled as she touched the screen. "Happy," she whispered. "They look happy. They miss you terribly," Ethan said. "They visit you every day. They made you a welcome back poster." Rachel closed her eyes, exhaustion evident on her face. "Bring them, please." 2 hours later, Ethan returned with Emma and Lily. He'd prepared them as best he could for their mother's condition, explaining that she might have trouble speaking and moving, but that her love for them was unchanged. Nothing could have prepared him for the emotional reunion. The moment the twins saw their mother awake, they broke into simultaneous sobs, rushing to her bedside. Rachel's left arm wrapped around them both, pulling them close as she wept into their hair. "My babies," she managed through her tears. "My sweet girls." Ethan stood back, giving them space, feeling like an intruder in this intensely private moment. After several minutes, he quietly suggested, "Should I wait outside?" To his surprise, Rachel shook her head. "Stay," she said. "Please." Over the next hour, the twins showed their mother the welcome poster, told her about Ethan's penthouse, and demonstrated how they could now tie their own shoes, a skill Ms. Jenkins had taught them. Rachel listened, occasionally struggling to respond, but her eyes never left her daughters. When a nurse arrived to check Rachel's vitals, Ethan took the opportunity to take the girls to the cafeteria for lunch. As they ate, Lily asked the question that had clearly been troubling her. "Mum talks funny now. Will she always talk like that?" "The doctors think she'll get better with practice," Ethan explained. "There are special teachers called speech therapists who will help her." "Her arm didn't move," Emma observed. "Is it broken?" "Not broken, but the stroke made some of her muscles stop working. She'll need physical therapy to help them remember how to move." "Will she come home with us soon?" Lily asked. The simple question contained layers of complexity. What was home now? Ethan's penthouse, their old apartment? And who was us? Did that include him? "Your mum needs special care to get better," he explained. "After the hospital, she'll go to a rehabilitation center where doctors can help her every day." Both girls' faces fell. "But," Ethan continued, "we'll visit her often, and when she's ready to leave, we'll figure out the best arrangement for everyone." Back in Rachel's room, they found her more alert, sitting up with the help of an adjustable bed. "Girls," she said carefully, "go see. Nurse desk. Stickers there." Once the twins had scampered off, Rachel turned to Ethan. "Thank you," she said, each word deliberate. "For my daughters." "But why?" Ethan sat in the chair beside her bed. "I wish I had a simple answer. I saw 2 children in need and I could help. Maybe." He hesitated, then decided on honesty. "Maybe I needed them as much as they needed me." Rachel studied him with intelligent eyes. Rich man. Big job. No family. Despite her impaired speech, her perception was sharp. "That's right. I built my company at the expense of everything else. Until your daughters came along, I didn't realize what I was missing." "They call you, what, Mr. Ethan mostly. Sometimes," he hesitated, "sometimes they slip and call me Daddy. I've told them they can call me whatever feels comfortable." He expected jealousy or anger, but Rachel surprised him. "Good," she said simply. "Girls need father figure. Their real father. Left before birth. Never wanted." She struggled, frustration clouding her features as words failed her. "Don't push yourself," Ethan advised. "We have time to talk about all of this." When the twins returned, plastered with colorful stickers, Rachel managed a smile. "My loves," she said. "Mr. Ethan, taking good care. He makes pancakes shaped like dinosaurs," Emma reported enthusiastically. "And he checks the door is locked every night," Lily added, her serious eyes fixed on her mother's face. Rachel's gaze met Ethan's over her daughters' heads, a look of profound gratitude passing between them. The following days established a new routine. Ethan worked remotely when possible, brought the girls to visit Rachel daily, and coordinated with doctors about her transition to a rehabilitation facility. The board meeting loomed, but he found himself less concerned about it than he would have expected. 5 days after Rachel awoke, Dr. Morris called Ethan into his office. "We've secured a place for Ms. Collins at Lakeside Rehabilitation Center," he announced. "It's one of the best in the Midwest." However, his expression grew troubled. "They require a family member to participate in therapy sessions 3 times weekly. Given Ms. Collins' lack of relatives." "I'll do it," Ethan said without hesitation. Dr. Morris looked surprised. "You're not family, Mr. Caldwell. I'm the guardian of her children and I'm covering her medical expenses. If that's not enough, I'll hire a lawyer to make it enough." The doctor raised his hands in surrender. "I'm on your side here. I just wanted you to understand the commitment involved. Rehabilitation could take months." "I understand," Ethan said firmly. That evening, after the twins were asleep, Ethan reviewed the latest company reports. The Tokyo deal was officially on hold. Stock prices had dipped 3% following rumors of leadership instability. The board meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. tomorrow, a deliberate conflict with his guardianship hearing. His phone rang. "Nathan." "The board's decided," his COO said without preamble. "They're asking you to take a 6-month leave of absence with me as interim CEO." "And if I refuse?" Ethan asked, surprisingly calm. "Don't make this ugly, Ethan. You've built something incredible here. Don't throw it away for this temporary situation." "These children aren't a temporary situation, Nathan, and neither is their mother." A long silence followed. "You've changed," Nathan finally said, his tone a mixture of accusation and bewilderment. "Yes," Ethan agreed, "I have." The next morning, Ethan stood before Judge Henderson, the twins at his side, David arguing eloquently for continued guardianship. To everyone's surprise, the hospital had submitted a statement from Rachel, supporting Ethan's petition. "She recognizes that her recovery will be lengthy," David explained, "and believes Mr. Caldwell provides the stability her daughters need during this difficult time." The judge granted the extended guardianship, pending quarterly reviews. As they left the courthouse, David asked, "What about the board meeting?" Ethan checked his watch. "I've missed it. I guess we'll see what happens." That afternoon, they visited Rachel at the hospital. Her speech was improving daily, though she still struggled with complex sentences. "Judge said yes?" she asked when they were alone. "Yes. I have guardianship for at least 3 more months." Relief softened her features. "Good. Girls need stability. I need time to heal." "Rachel," Ethan said carefully, "I want you to know that I'm committed to helping you and the girls for as long as you need. My company situation is complicated right now, but your family's well-being is my priority." "Why?" she asked, the directness reminiscent of Lily. "Still don't understand." Ethan considered the question. "Before I met Emma and Lily, I thought success meant making money, growing my company, being important. Now I'm not so sure. These past weeks with your daughters have been the most meaningful of my life." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "Don't disappear when I'm better. Girls would break." "I won't," Ethan promised. "Whatever happens, I'm here for all of you." As they left the hospital, Ethan's phone buzzed with an email. The subject line read, "Board decision." His heart hammered as he opened it, preparing for the worst. Instead, he found a surprising message. "After careful consideration, the board has rejected the proposal for a leadership transition at this time. Your presence is requested at tomorrow's strategy meeting. Regards, Eleanor Winters, chairperson." Attached was a note from Eleanor. "My grandson was in foster care before I adopted him. Some things matter more than business. Don't make me regret this decision, Ethan." That night, after the twins were asleep, Ethan sat on his balcony overlooking the glittering Chicago skyline. His company was safe for now. The girls were legally in his care. Rachel was improving and supported his guardianship. Yet he knew the road ahead would be challenging. Rachel's recovery would be lengthy and difficult. The twins would need help processing their mother's changed condition. His own role in their lives remained undefined. For the first time in his life, Ethan Caldwell faced a future he couldn't control or predict. Strangely, it didn't frighten him. Whatever came next, he wouldn't face it alone. 6 weeks after her stroke, Rachel Collins was transferred to Lakeside Rehabilitation Center. The sprawling facility on the shores of Lake Michigan offered state-of-the-art therapy programs and breathtaking views, both luxuries Rachel would never have afforded on a nurse's salary. When Ethan had first brought her to tour the facility, she'd been overwhelmed by the obvious expense. "Too much," she'd protested, her speech still halting but improving. "Can't accept." "It's not charity," Ethan had assured her. "It's what Emma and Lily deserve, the best possible care for their mother." He'd learned that invoking the twins was the surest way to overcome Rachel's pride. Now, as autumn deepened into winter, Ethan established yet another routine: mornings with the girls, then work while they attended the preschool program he'd enrolled them in, followed by afternoon visits to Lakeside, where the twins played in the children's area while Rachel underwent therapy. 3 days a week, Ethan participated in family therapy sessions, learning how to assist with Rachel's exercises and communication strategies. "You've made remarkable progress," Dr. Patel, the rehabilitation specialist, told Rachel during their 4th week. "Your determination is impressive." Rachel smiled, the right side of her mouth now almost matching the left. "Need to get home to my girls." "About that," Dr. Patel said, glancing at her notes. "We typically recommend a supportive home environment after discharge. Given your continued mobility challenges and need for daily therapy, living alone with 2 young children would be extremely difficult." Rachel's face fell. "But where? There are assisted living facilities," the doctor suggested hesitantly. "Though they typically serve an older population." "No," Rachel said firmly, her ability to communicate strengthening with her emotions. "Not putting my children through more change." Dr. Patel looked uncomfortable. "Unfortunately, insurance rarely covers home health aides, and private care is expensive." "What if," Ethan interjected, "Rachel came to stay at my penthouse after discharge? There's plenty of room, it's already adapted for her therapy needs, and the girls are settled there." Both women turned to stare at him. "That's a significant offer," Dr. Patel said carefully. "Ms. Collins would need substantial assistance initially." "I can hire whatever help is necessary," Ethan replied, "and I'm already familiar with her therapy regimen." "Need to think," Rachel said, her eyes wide with surprise. Later, when the twins were occupied with the therapy center's therapy dog, Rachel turned to Ethan. "Why?" she asked, still her most direct question. "Already done so much." Ethan considered his answer carefully. At first, it was just about Emma and Lily, making sure they were safe, cared for. But now, he hesitated, "now it's about all of you. I care about what happens to your family." "Complicated," Rachel said, gesturing to herself. "I'm broken." "You're healing," Ethan corrected gently, "and you don't have to do it alone." Tears filled Rachel's eyes. "Never had help before. Always just me and girls." "It doesn't have to be that way anymore," Ethan said softly, "unless you want it to be." 2 days later, Rachel agreed to the arrangement. "Temporary," she insisted, "until stronger." The day before Rachel's scheduled discharge, Ethan prepared his home for her arrival. He converted his home office into a bedroom for her, installing support rails in the adjoining bathroom and ordering a specialized bed that would make it easier for her to get up with her weakened right side. The twins decorated the walls with their artwork and helped arrange photos of the 3 of them on the dresser. "Is Mommy going to live with us forever?" Emma asked, as she carefully positioned a drawing of what appeared to be 3 stick figures and a taller one. "For now," Ethan answered truthfully. "While she gets stronger." "Then what?" Lily asked, her perceptive eyes studying his face. "Then we'll figure out what works best for everyone," Ethan replied, wishing he had a more definitive answer. Bringing Rachel home, he caught himself using the word home naturally now, was both joyful and awkward. The twins were ecstatic, bouncing around the penthouse showing their mother all their favorite spots. Rachel moved slowly with a walker, her right leg still significantly weaker than her left, her speech careful but much improved. That first evening, as they gathered around the dinner table, Ethan felt a strange mixture of fulfillment and uncertainty. For weeks he'd imagined this moment, the 4 of them together, but the reality was more complicated than the fantasy. He wasn't just caring for the twins anymore. He was sharing their care with their mother, who was simultaneously dependent on him and wary of that dependence. "More potatoes, Rachel?" he offered, trying to ease the tension. "Thank you," she said softly, holding out her plate. Her fingers trembled slightly, and some of the food slipped onto the table as she brought the plate back. "I'll get it," both Ethan and Rachel said simultaneously, their hands nearly colliding as they reached for the fallen food. "Sorry," Ethan said, pulling back, Rachel's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "Not used to having help." "And I'm not used to sharing my home," Ethan admitted. "We'll both have adjustments to make." Emma, oblivious to the tension, piped up, "Daddy made the potatoes extra yummy today." A heavy silence fell. Rachel's fork clattered against her plate. "I mean Mr. Ethan," Emma corrected herself, looking stricken. "I forgot." "It's okay, sweetie," Rachel said quickly, though her expression was pained. "You've been with Mr. Ethan while I was sick. Natural to—" She trailed off, unable to complete the thought, emotion choking her already compromised speech. "Girls," Ethan said gently, "why don't you go pick a book for bedtime? I'll be there in a few minutes." When the twins had left, Ethan turned to Rachel. "I'm sorry about that. I've told them they can call me whatever makes them comfortable, but I never encouraged Daddy specifically." Rachel nodded, struggling to compose herself. "Not your fault. They needed someone. You were there. I wasn't. You were fighting to recover," Ethan said firmly. "You're an incredible mother, Rachel. Your daughters adore you." "Not same now," she whispered, gesturing to her weakened side. "Can't even braid hair, tie shoes." "Those things will come back with time," Ethan assured her. "And until they do, we'll manage together." Rachel studied him, her brown eyes serious. "Why are you really doing this?" "Truth." Ethan considered deflecting, giving the safe answer about wanting to help. Instead, he chose honesty. "I've spent my entire adult life accumulating wealth and power," he said quietly. "I have a company valued at billions, a penthouse with a view most people only see in movies, more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. And until I met your daughters, I had no one to share any of it with, no one who cared about me beyond what I could do for them professionally." He looked toward the bedroom where the twins were giggling over their book selection. "Emma and Lily changed everything. They showed me what it means to be needed, truly needed. Not for my money or influence, but just for being there, for checking that the door is locked, for making dinosaur pancakes, for keeping nightmares away." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "They do that," she agreed softly. "Make you feel necessary. I know this situation is uncomfortable," Ethan continued. "I know you're fiercely independent and accepting help doesn't come easily. But please believe that I'm not trying to replace you or take over your family. I just want to help, for as long as you'll let me." Rachel wiped her eyes with her good hand. Lily said, "You never break promises." Ethan smiled. "I try not to." "Promise me something," Rachel said, her voice stronger than it had been all evening. "If this gets too much, if you want your life back, tell me. Don't just disappear." "I promise," Ethan said solemnly, "but I also promise that won't happen." The next few days were a learning experience for everyone. Ethan hired a home health aide to assist Rachel during the day, but evenings and weekends were his responsibility. He learned to help her with exercises, to recognize when she was pushing herself too hard, to step in when she needed assistance without making her feel helpless. Rachel, for her part, struggled to accept her limitations while reclaiming her role as mother. The twins, though overjoyed to have their mother back, had grown accustomed to turning to Ethan for everything from permission to play outside to comfort after a bad dream. "Mommy," Emma asked one evening as Rachel painstakingly helped her into pajamas, "are you still sick inside your head?" Rachel froze, pain flashing across her face. "My brain got hurt," she explained carefully. "Getting better, but takes time. Mr. Ethan said your brain has to make new roads because some got washed away in the storm," Lily said matter-of-factly, referring to Ethan's simplified explanation of stroke recovery. "That's right," Rachel said, smiling at her daughter's understanding. "New roads every day." Later, after the twins were asleep, Rachel found Ethan on the balcony, wrapped in a heavy coat against the December chill. "Thank you," she said, joining him with her walker, "for explanation about brain roads. Help them understand." Ethan smiled. "Lily's been telling everyone at preschool that her mum's brain is building superhighways." Rachel laughed, a sound Ethan realized he'd rarely heard. It transformed her face, making her look younger, carefree. "First time they've seen me as normal mother since stroke," she said. "Because of you." "You're doing the hard work," Ethan countered. "I'm just the support crew." Rachel shook her head. "More than that, to all of us." 3 weeks into their new arrangement, Ethan received a call from Nathan while at work. "The Thompson acquisition is back on the table," his COO announced without preamble. "But they want you in San Francisco for final negotiations. 3 days starting tomorrow." Ethan hesitated. He hadn't spent a night away from the twins since they came into his life. "I can't leave on such short notice," he replied. "I have responsibilities here." "This is a billion-dollar deal, Ethan." Nathan's frustration was palpable. "The board has been patient, but this is literally the reason you're paid $20 million a year." "Let me see what I can arrange," Ethan conceded. That evening, he approached Rachel tentatively. "I need to ask a huge favor." Rachel looked up from the speech therapy exercises she was practicing. "What?" "I have a critical business trip, 3 days in San Francisco. The home health aide can extend her hours, and Ms. Jenkins can help with the girls, but—" "You want to know?" "If I can manage," Rachel finished for him, her expression unreadable. "If you don't feel ready, I'll cancel the trip," Ethan said quickly. "The deal is important, but not more important than all of you." Rachel was quiet for a moment. 3 days, she said finally. "We'll be okay. Time for me to be mother again. Are you sure?" "The doctor said not to push too hard." "Not pushing," Rachel replied with determination. "Growing stronger. Need to do this. For girls. For me." Ethan nodded, recognizing the need for independence in her eyes. "I'll make sure everything is arranged before I go, and I'll video call every night for bedtime stories." The twins took the news of his impending absence with mixed reactions. Emma burst into tears, while Lily grew quiet and withdrawn. "But who will check the doors?" Lily asked, her voice small. "Your mom and I will check them together before I go," Ethan promised. "And you can call me anytime you're worried, day or night." The morning of his departure was chaotic. Despite careful planning, last-minute issues arose. Emma couldn't find her favorite hair clip, Lily refused breakfast, Rachel dropped a glass while trying to help clean up the spilled cereal. As his car waited outside, Ethan knelt before the twins. "I'll be back before you know it," he promised. "Be good for your mom and Ms. Jenkins." "Don't go," Emma pleaded, clinging to his neck. "3 sleeps," Ethan reminded her, gently disentangling himself. "Then I'll be home. Home." The word felt right, even as he looked at the 3 faces that had transformed his luxurious but empty penthouse into something warm and meaningful. Rachel met his eyes over the twins' heads. "We'll be fine," she assured him, though uncertainty flickered in her gaze. "Go make your $1 billion. Ethan laughed despite himself. "I'd rather be making dinosaur pancakes." As the elevator doors closed, separating him from his unexpected family, Ethan felt a surprising ache in his chest. 3 days suddenly seemed like an eternity. The San Francisco trip stretched Ethan's patience to its breaking point. While the negotiations proceeded smoothly, his mind remained firmly in Chicago. He video called twice daily, once in the morning before the twins left for preschool and again at bedtime. Each call revealed subtle changes in the household dynamics. On the first night, Emma sobbed throughout the entire story, while Lily sat stone-faced, refusing to speak to him. Rachel looked exhausted but determined, her speech noticeably more labored under stress. By the second night, things had improved slightly. Emma had stopped crying, though she clutched her stuffed rabbit with white knuckles as Ethan read "Goodnight Moon" through the screen. Lily finally spoke, informing him matter-of-factly that she and her mother had checked the doors twice and the windows. Ethan asked, continuing their familiar ritual. "All locked," Lily confirmed, "but we're on the 30th floor, so monsters can't climb that high anyway." Ethan smiled at her logic. "That's very true." After the girls went to bed, Rachel remained on the call, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the tablet. "How are you really doing?" Ethan asked quietly. "Tired," she admitted, "but managing. Health aid helps. Ms. Jenkins too." "And the girls?" Rachel sighed. "Miss you. More than expected." Emma cried for hour after school, Lily checking doors 5, 6 times. Guilt twisted in Ethan's stomach. "I'm sorry, I should have given them more time to prepare." "Not your fault," Rachel assured him. "Good for them to remember I'm their mother." "Good for me too." "You're an incredible mother, Rachel," Ethan said softly. "Those girls are lucky to have you." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "Lucky to have both of us." On the 3rd day, just as the acquisition deal was being finalized, Ethan received a text from the home health aide. "Emergency at home. Call immediately." His heart hammering, Ethan excused himself from the meeting and called. "Mr. Caldwell," the aide said, her voice tense. There's a woman from Child Protective Services here. She's demanding to speak with you. CPS, Ethan repeated, bewildered. Why? Someone filed a report claiming suspicious circumstances. An injured woman and 2 children living with an unrelated man. Ms. Collins is very upset and the girls are frightened. Put the CPS worker on the phone, Ethan demanded. A moment later, a brisk female voice came on the line. This is Diane Winters, Cook County Child Protective Services. This is Ethan Caldwell. I have legal guardianship of Emma and Lily Collins while their mother recovers from a stroke. All the documentation is in my home office, top drawer of the filing cabinet. Mr. Caldwell, we've received concerning reports about the living arrangements in your home. From whom? Ethan asked, though he already suspected the answer. I'm not at liberty to say. Anonymous reporting is protected. It's Mrs. Patterson from 31B, isn't it? Ethan guessed. Eleanor Patterson, a widow in her 70s, had made her disapproval clear from the moment the twins moved in, complaining about noise and running in the hallways, despite the thick walls and carpeted corridors of the luxury building. The social worker's silence confirmed his suspicion. Mrs. Winters, I'm currently in San Francisco concluding a business deal. I'll be on the next flight back to Chicago. But in the meantime, please review the guardianship papers. Call Judge Henderson's office if you need verification. Rachel Collins is in my home because she requires assistance during stroke recovery, and the rehabilitation center recommended against her living alone with 2 young children. Nevertheless, I need to complete my investigation, Mrs. Winters replied, unmoved. I'll need to interview the children privately. Ethan's blood ran cold at the thought of Lily and Emma being questioned by a stranger. The girls have been through enough trauma. Their mother was unconscious for weeks, and they're still adjusting to her condition. Mr. Caldwell, I understand your concern, but I have a job to do. Ethan took a deep breath, forcing himself to remain calm. May I speak with Rachel again? When Rachel came on the line, her speech was more slurred than it had been in weeks, a sign of extreme stress. Ethan, she said, her voice shaking, woman wants to take girls to office for questions. That's not happening, Ethan said firmly. Put Mrs. Winters back on. When the social worker returned, Ethan spoke with the authoritative tone he typically reserved for boardroom confrontations. Mrs. Winters, I'm booking a flight back to Chicago right now. I'll be home in approximately 5 hours. You may review all documentation and speak with the adults in the household, but you will not remove those children or question them without their mother present. If you attempt to do so, I will have my attorney in court within the hour, seeking an emergency injunction. After a tense silence, Mrs. Winters agreed to wait for his return, though she made it clear she would remain in the penthouse until he arrived. Ethan immediately called David, briefing him on the situation as he packed his bags and booked the next flight to Chicago. I've dealt with Diane Winters before, David said grimly. She's thorough but fair. Have Rachel show her the medical documentation and therapy schedule. I'll send over additional copies of the guardianship papers. The 5-hour journey back to Chicago was the longest of Ethan's life. When he finally arrived home, he found Rachel sitting rigidly on the sofa, the twins huddled against her, while Mrs. Winters reviewed documents at the dining table. Emma launched herself at him the moment he walked through the door. Daddy, the mean lady said we might have to leave. Ethan lifted her into his arms, meeting Mrs. Winters' gaze over Emma's head. No one is leaving, he said firmly, directing his words to both Emma and the social worker. Lily remained beside her mother, her small face tight with anxiety. She asked if you ever hurt us, she said, her voice trembling with indignation. I told her you only hurt the monsters under the bed. Despite the tension, Ethan had to suppress a smile at Lily's literal interpretation. He set Emma down and approached Mrs. Winters. I trust you've had time to review the documentation? The social worker nodded, her expression professional but less severe than earlier. Everything appears to be in order legally. However, I still need to understand the nature of this arrangement. Why don't we discuss this privately? Ethan suggested, gesturing toward his study. Once they were alone, Mrs. Winters got straight to the point. Mr. Caldwell, I've been doing this job for 20 years. When I receive reports of a wealthy single man suddenly taking in a young mother and her children, certain concerns naturally arise. Ethan's jaw tightened. What exactly are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm doing my job. The report I received suggested that Ms. Collins arrived with only a small bag late at night and that the children refer to you as Daddy, despite having known you for a very short time. Rachel came directly from a rehabilitation facility with few personal belongings. Her apartment lease had expired while she was hospitalized, and yes, occasionally the girls call me Daddy, which I've neither encouraged nor discouraged. Their biological father abandoned them before birth. Mrs. Winters studied him. "What's your relationship with Ms. Collins?" "We're co-parents," Ethan said simply. "I became the twins' guardian when Rachel was incapacitated, and now we're working together to provide them with stability during her recovery." "And there's no romantic involvement?" Ethan bristled at the insinuation. "Rachel suffered a hemorrhagic stroke 3 months ago. She's focused on regaining her independence and caring for her daughters. Our relationship is based on the well-being of Emma and Lily." After further questioning, Mrs. Winters seemed satisfied. "I'll need to schedule a follow-up visit in 30 days, but I see no immediate concerns warranting intervention." After she left, the tension in the penthouse remained palpable. The twins were clingy and tearful, refusing to let Ethan out of their sight. Rachel was withdrawn, her speech deteriorating to the level it had been weeks earlier. That night, after finally getting the girls to sleep, both in his bed, as neither would stay in their own room, Ethan found Rachel on the balcony despite the winter cold. "They'll be okay," he said, draping a blanket around her shoulders. "Children are resilient." "My fault," Rachel said, tears streaming down her face. "If I hadn't gotten sick." "Stop," Ethan said gently. "You didn't choose to have a stroke, Rachel. Neighbor woman and looking at me since I arrived like I'm using you." Ethan's jaw tightened. Eleanor Patterson had crossed a line. "She's a lonely, bitter woman with nothing better to do than meddle in other people's lives." "But she's right," Rachel whispered. "I am using you, your money, your home." "Is that what you think?" Ethan asked, genuinely surprised. "That this is a one-way arrangement?" Rachel wiped her tears with her good hand. "What do you get from this?" Ethan was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "Before Emma and Lily came into my life, I measured success by my company's valuation and my net worth. I worked 18-hour days, slept in my office, and hadn't taken a vacation in 8 years." He looked out at the Chicago skyline, lights twinkling against the night sky. "I was worth billions on paper, but my life was empty. No real connections, no purpose beyond the next acquisition, the next product launch." Turning back to Rachel, he continued, "Your daughters taught me what truly matters, and you, your strength, your determination to recover, your unwavering love for Emma and Lily. You inspire me daily. So please don't talk about using me. If anything, I should be thanking you for allowing me to be part of your family." Rachel's eyes filled with fresh tears. "The girls love you so much, and I love them," Ethan said simply. "More than I thought possible." "And me?" Rachel asked, her voice barely audible. "Where do I fit now?" The question hung in the air between them, laden with uncertainty and vulnerability. "Wherever you want to," Ethan replied softly. "This is your family, Rachel. I'm just grateful to be included in it." The next morning, Ethan took the day off work, feeling the girls needed reassurance after the previous day's trauma. They built a blanket fort in the living room, made cookies shaped like stars, and watched animated movies until both twins fell asleep on either side of him on the sofa. Rachel, who had been observing from her armchair, caught his eye over Emma's sleeping head. "Never seen a billion-dollar CEO covered in flour, watching Frozen," she commented, her speech noticeably improved after a good night's rest. Ethan grinned. "Don't tell my board, they think I'm reviewing acquisition documents. Your secret's safe," Rachel promised, her smile warming her eyes. That evening, after putting the twins to bed in their own room for the first time since his return, Ethan found a legal document on his desk, a petition for co-parenting rights that David had drawn up at his request weeks earlier. He'd been waiting for the right moment to discuss it with Rachel. His phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. "Board needs decision on Tokyo expansion. Time sensitive." Ethan glanced at the co-parenting petition, then at the twins' bedroom door. The Tokyo expansion would require frequent travel to Japan over the next 6 months. Before, he wouldn't have hesitated. Business always came first. Now, the thought of leaving Emma and Lily for weeks at a time was unthinkable. They needed stability, especially after yesterday's scare with CPS. And Rachel, though improving daily, still required support. For the first time in his career, Ethan typed a response that would have been unimaginable 3 months ago. Recommend proceeding with expansion under Reynolds' leadership. I'll support remotely but can't commit to extended travel at this time. Family situation requires my presence in Chicago. After sending the text, he picked up the co-parenting petition, weighing it in his hand. Was it too soon? Would Rachel see it as overstepping? They'd formed an unexpected partnership these past months, but formalizing it was a significant step. His thoughts were interrupted by Rachel appearing in the doorway, her walker abandoned in favor of a cane, a recent development she was particularly proud of. "Girls asleep?" she asked. "Finally. Today was a lot for them." Rachel nodded, moving carefully to sit in the chair opposite his desk. Her eyes fell on the document in his hand. "What's that?" Ethan hesitated, then decided on honesty. "A legal petition for co-parenting rights. I had David prepare it a while ago, but I've been waiting for the right time to discuss it with you." Rachel's expression was unreadable. "May I see?" He handed her the document, watching nervously as she read, her lips moving slightly with the effort of processing complex text. Another lingering effect of the stroke. "This would make you legally their parent. Alongside me," she said finally. "Only if you're comfortable with it," Ethan hastened to add. "I know it's a big step." Rachel was quiet for a long moment, her fingers tracing the edges of the paper. "Before my stroke," she said slowly, carefully forming each word, "I was always alone, raising twins, working night shifts, no family, no help." She looked up, meeting his eyes, was so tired, all the time, scared I wasn't enough for them. "You were more than enough," Ethan said firmly. "You're an amazing mother. But everyone needs help sometimes," Rachel continued. "Took stroke for me to learn that." She set the petition down on the desk, her decision clear in her eyes. "Yes, let's do this. For Emma and Lily. For us." Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "Are you sure?" Rachel nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "Family isn't about blood. It's about who stays when things get hard. And I'm staying," Ethan promised. "For all of you." Outside the study window, snow began to fall, blanketing the Chicago skyline in silent white. Inside, something new was taking shape. A family formed not by birth or marriage, but by choice, by commitment, by love in its most genuine form. Spring arrived in Chicago with a burst of renewal that mirrored the transformation within Ethan's penthouse. The bare trees along Michigan Avenue sprouted tender green leaves, and tulips emerged in the city's planters. Inside, changes were equally profound. Rachel had progressed from a cane to walking unassisted for short distances. Her speech, while still occasionally halting when she was tired, had improved dramatically. Most significantly, she had begun training for a part-time position at a pediatric clinic, adjusting her career to accommodate her new circumstances. The co-parenting petition had been approved by the court 2 months earlier, making Ethan legally a parent to Emma and Lily alongside Rachel. The twins had celebrated with ice cream sundaes and handmade cards, Emma's covered in glitter that still occasionally surfaced in unexpected places around the penthouse. On a bright Saturday morning, almost 6 months to the day since Ethan had first encountered the twins in that corner store, he proposed an outing. "I thought we might visit somewhere special today," he suggested as they finished breakfast. "A place that means a lot to us." Lily, ever perceptive, studied his face. "Is it the hospital? Because I don't really like hospitals anymore." "Not the hospital," Ethan assured her with a smile. "Somewhere happier." An hour later, their car pulled up outside Miller's Market, the small grocery store where he'd caught 2 hungry little girls stealing food. The twins' eyes widened in recognition. "This is where we met you," Emma said, bouncing in her seat with excitement. Rachel, who had heard the story but never visited the location, looked at the unassuming storefront with thoughtful eyes. "Thought we should mark the occasion," she said, her hand finding Ethan's briefly. "6 months since you found our girls." "Or they found me," Ethan replied with a smile. Inside, he led them to the snack aisle where he'd first spotted the twins. Emma giggled, hiding her face against Rachel's leg. "We were so scared when you caught us," Lily recalled, her face solemn. "I was pretty surprised myself," Ethan admitted. I just came in for water. And left with 2 children, Rachel added, her voice warm with affection. Ethan purchased milk and the same brand of cookies the girls had attempted to take that day, plus sandwiches from the deli. They sat at the same small cafe table where he'd first fed the hungry twins. You were wearing a blue suit, Lily remembered, her detail-oriented mind surprising him yet again. With a silver tie. And you had a big important meeting, Emma added. But you took us home instead. Best decision I ever made, Ethan said honestly. As they finished their impromptu celebration lunch, the store manager approached, recognition dawning on his face. I remember you folks, he said with a smile. The twins and the businessman. Wondered what happened after you all left that day. We became a family, Emma announced proudly, chocolate smeared around her mouth. The simple truth of her statement struck Ethan with unexpected force. They had indeed become a family, not through traditional means, but through something perhaps more meaningful. Choice, commitment, and love that had withstood significant challenges. Back at the penthouse, Rachel suggested they take a family photo to commemorate the anniversary. They gathered on the balcony with the Chicago skyline behind them, the twins in front, Rachel and Ethan behind them. Everyone say family, Ms. Jenkins called as she snapped the picture with Rachel's phone. Family, the twins shouted in unison, their smiles radiant. Later that evening, after the girls were asleep, Ethan and Rachel sat on the balcony, enjoying the mild spring air. In the 6 months of their unconventional living arrangement, they had developed a comfortable routine. These quiet evening conversations had become an important part of it, a time to discuss the day, make decisions about the twins, and occasionally share deeper thoughts. I've been thinking, Rachel said, her speech flowing more naturally than it had in months. About our arrangement. Ethan felt a flutter of apprehension. Was she planning to move out? Now that her recovery had progressed significantly, it would be a logical step. What about it? He asked carefully. The girls are settled here, school nearby, friends in the building, my therapy center just 10 minutes away. She listed these points methodically. Makes sense to stay. Relief washed over him. I'd like that. But, Rachel continued, not as your charity case. Need to contribute. Rachel, money isn't an issue. She held up her hand, stopping him. Not about money, about dignity, self-respect. Ethan nodded, understanding her need for independence. What are you proposing? I start working again next month. Part-time, but salary. Will contribute to household, not equal obviously, but something. You don't need to. Need to, she interrupted firmly. For me. For girls to see their mother. Strong again, Ethan recognized the determination in her eyes. I understand. But I want you to know that I've never seen you as a charity case, Rachel. Never. She smiled, the moonlight softening her features. Know that. One of many reasons why this works. This? Ethan questioned, wondering if she meant their living arrangement, their co-parenting or something more. Rachel hesitated, seemingly gathering courage. Us. This family we've made. The words hung in the air between them, laden with unspoken meaning. When I had my stroke, she continued carefully, thought my life was over. Then you stepped in, saved my daughters. Saved me. You saved yourself, Ethan corrected gently. I've never met anyone as determined as you. Had something to fight for, Rachel replied, her eyes drifting toward the twins' bedroom. 2 somethings. She turned back to him, her expression earnest. Ethan, these past months, watching you with girls, how you love them, care for them, never expected to share them with anyone, but now can't imagine them without you. Ethan's heart raced at her words. I can't imagine my life without any of you, he admitted. You've changed everything for both of us, Rachel agreed softly. The moment stretched between them, full of possibility. Slowly, hesitantly, Rachel reached out and took his hand. It was a simple gesture, but significant. The first time she had initiated such contact. Not sure what happens next, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But no, I want you in our lives. Not just for girls. For me, too. Ethan gently squeezed her hand. I'm not going anywhere, Rachel. The next morning brought a flurry of activity. Emma had a dance recital, and Lily was participating in a school science fair. As they rushed to get ready, The doorbell rang, an unusual occurrence, as visitors to the penthouse typically had to be announced by the doorman. Ethan opened the door to find Eleanor Patterson from 31B standing stiffly in the hallway, a small gift bag in her hands. "Mrs. Patterson," he said coolly, remembering the CPS investigation she had triggered. "What can I do for you?" The elderly woman looked uncomfortable. "I came to apologize," she said, the words clearly difficult for her, "and to give the girls something." Rachel appeared behind Ethan, her presence supportive but wary. "May I come in?" Mrs. Patterson asked. After a moment's hesitation, Ethan stepped aside. The twins, spotting the visitor, immediately moved closer to Rachel, clearly remembering the mean lady who had brought the social worker to their home. "Girls," Mrs. Patterson began awkwardly, "I brought you these." She held out the gift bag. Lily, cautious as always, looked to Ethan for guidance. At his nod, she accepted the bag and peered inside. Her expression brightened as she pulled out two identical stuffed kittens, one gray, one orange. "Thank you," she said politely, handing the orange one to Emma. "I owe your family an apology," Mrs. Patterson continued, addressing herself to Rachel and Ethan. "I made assumptions based on nothing but my own prejudices. After the social worker's visit, I realized how wrong I'd been." Rachel's expression softened slightly. "Thank you for saying that. I lost my husband 3 years ago," Mrs. Patterson explained. "Haven't been handling it well. Seeing your unconventional family forming reminded me of what I'd lost." Ethan, who had been prepared to remain angry, felt his resentment fading. "Grief can make us do things we wouldn't normally do," he acknowledged. Mrs. Patterson nodded gratefully. "If you ever need a babysitter," she offered hesitantly. "I was a kindergarten teacher for 40 years." The peace offering hung in the air. After a moment, Rachel stepped forward. "Girls have recital this morning. Would you like to come with us? See Emma dance?" The elderly woman's eyes lit up. "I'd be honored." That evening, after a day filled with dance performances, science projects, and an unexpectedly pleasant lunch with Mrs. Patterson, Ethan and Rachel tucked the exhausted twins into bed. "Read us the special story," Emma requested sleepily, clutching her new orange kitten. "Which special story?" Ethan asked, though he already knew the answer. "The one about how we became a family," Lily clarified, her eyes already drifting closed. It was a story they had written together, all four of them, and illustrated with the twins' drawings. Rachel retrieved the handmade book from the shelf and sat beside Ethan on Lily's bed. "Once upon a time," she began, her voice steady and clear, "there were 2 little girls who were very hungry. And a man who forgot his water bottle," Ethan continued, picking up the familiar narrative. "And a mommy who got very sick," Rachel added. "But then we all found each other," Emma murmured, fighting sleep. "And became a family," Lily finished, her eyes finally closing. Rachel carefully placed the book back on the shelf, and they tiptoed out of the room, leaving the door ajar so the nightlight's glow would reach the hallway. In the living room, Ethan found himself standing before the large windows, looking out at the city he'd once navigated solo, focused solely on conquest and acquisition. Now his empire seemed secondary to the little world they'd created within these walls. Rachel joined him, standing close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "A year ago," Ethan said softly, "if someone had told me I'd be a father to twins and sharing my home with their mother, I would have thought they were insane. And if someone told me I'd be living in a penthouse, co-parenting with a billionaire," Rachel replied with a smile, "I'd have said the same." "Life takes unexpected turns," Ethan mused. "Grateful for this one," Rachel said, her hand finding his again more confidently this time. Despite how it started, Ethan turned to face her, struck again by her strength, her resilience, her quiet dignity. "I never expected to find a family in a grocery store," he said, his voice catching slightly. "But now I can't imagine life any other way." Rachel's eyes met his, warm and certain. "Then don't," she said simply. 1 year to the day after Ethan had caught 2 hungry little girls stealing food, they returned to Miller's Market. This time, they brought a cake and a photographer. The twins held up the cookies they'd once tried to steal, grinning widely for the camera. A small sign propped on the table read, "Where our family began." The store manager joined them for a slice of cake, marveling at the changes in Rachel since he'd last seen them 6 months earlier. "You look like a different person," he observed. "Feel like one too," Rachel replied, watching as Ethan helped Emma cut her cake into precisely equal pieces. Amazing what love can rebuild. As the photographer captured one final image, the four of them laughing together, surrounded by the ordinary backdrop of a corner grocery store, Ethan realized that his definition of success had fundamentally changed. Success wasn't measured in acquisitions or stock prices or corner offices. It was measured in Lily's solemn trust when she took his hand, in Emma's exuberant hugs when he returned from work, in Rachel's quiet strength as she rebuilt her life, allowing him the privilege of walking beside her. Success was building something that mattered, not a company or a fortune, but a family, a place of belonging for four people who had found each other when they needed it most. That evening, as they walked hand in hand along the lakeshore, the twins running ahead collecting shells, Rachel leaned closer to Ethan. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For stopping that day, for seeing hungry children, not thieves, for changing all our lives." Ethan smiled, watching as Emma showed Lily a particularly shiny stone. "I think they changed mine more than I changed theirs." "That's how family works," Rachel replied, resting her head briefly against his shoulder. "Everyone changes. Everyone grows." As the sun set over Lake Michigan, casting golden light across the water, Ethan pulled Rachel and the twins into a tight embrace. From strangers to family in one remarkable year, an unexpected journey that had led them exactly where they were meant to be. "Look!" Emma cried, pointing to a shooting star streaking across the darkening sky. "Make a wish." Ethan closed his eyes briefly, then opened them to find Rachel watching him. "What did you wish for?" she asked. "Nothing," he replied honestly. "I already have everything I need right here." And as the four of them walked home together under the emerging stars, Ethan knew it was true. The hungry children and the lonely businessman had found not just food or shelter, but the most essential nourishment of all. A family formed by choice, strengthened by challenge, and bound together by love.